What's up, everybody? Welcome to Building Our Power. This is Gabby.
And Katie.
And we're back with another episode. You follow us on social medias at Building Our PWR. Also, if you would like to donate to what we're doing in our community, with stocking our local community fridge as well as distributing propaganda, be sure to hit the link in our description. We've been working with that $1,000 donation for about a month now, and we're about on our last couple $100. I think we had like $150 left. So we're going to spend that for next week. We really want to focus on getting like hand warmers and some hats and scarves and stuff like that, because it's about to get real cold very soon. So if you would like to help us with that, feel free to donate, as I said. All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about a couple different things. We're going to talk about that masterclass. We're going to talk about passivism and some other things as well. All right, so Katie, I think you wanted to start the discussion on passivism.
Yeah, so more recently, I've been seeing a lot of people come up with these organizations, which basically is just their way of holding hands with the government. And so I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how being passive in any way, any sense at all, is not going to get us out of capitalism. The ruling class, the elite, the upper class doesn't know anything outside of violence. And that's how they keep people in check, is through violence themselves. So how do you guys expect to hold hands with these capitalists, with these people, and get out of capitalism? So what is passivism or passive resistance that we're talking about? This is going to be a protest, a strike, going to your boss and creating a union. That's going to be passive resistance. And personally, I don't know about Gabby, but I don't believe that that's going to be anything that's going to push us or even get us in the right direction at all. If anything, that is creating almost like a treaty with the enemy. Passive resistance tells us that we must be the change we want to see. And honestly, that's not possible. It's not possible to be the change you want to see when your daily life is just abuse. Your daily life is suffering, right? So sure, maybe if I was a capitalist, maybe if I did have money, I would be able to be the change I want to see within capitalism, but it's just not possible as someone who's constantly having to experience violence on a daily basis, either as a poor person, as a black person, as a queer person within capitalism. But what do you think, Gabby?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you gotta look at it from the capitalist point of view. Like, even with, these strikes and stuff that's been going on, like even look at Kellogg's and stuff like that. They would much rather have people strike. You can see they're already threatening to fire those workers, and they've already been replacing them with scabs. They would much rather have you do a strike or a boycott than to be over there destroying some stuff.
Burn down the building.
They would much rather you do a protest, the government would, than you destroying property. Or stealing things from stores and everything else. Like, that's what they want, because that's not really a threat. Like, with these boycotts and strikes, they'll give in, pay these people a couple extra $1,000, which is nothing to them. They won't even see it in their bottom line. And they'll go on about their business. They'll continue to exploit and stuff like that. So I really think that anybody at this time in 2021 that is still saying that passivism will get us to where we need to be. I understand if they're saying just passivism just for right now, just so some people can live a little bit more comfortably right now. I get that. The people that are actually saying and believing that through strikes, boycotts, and unions that we're going to get to a communist society eventually, they are.
They already have
They're
some kind of
lying.
power.
They're lying, and they're not. They're leading you to a path of destruction, if you ask me.
Yeah, I was gonna read this thing that I saw in the Anarchist Library, and I'll link it down below. But it's interesting. So it says one of the things that the Nazis did was make it so that at every step of the way, it was in the Jews' rational best interest to not resist. Many Jews had the hope, and this hope was cultivated by the Nazis. That is, if they played along. Following the rules laid out by those, rather get an ID or you would rather resist and possibly get killed. Would you rather go to a ghetto reserve reservation or whatever, or would you rather resist and possibly get killed? Would you rather get on a cattle car or would you rather resist and possibly get killed? But I'll tell you something important. The Jews who participated in the Warsaw ghetto uprisings, including those who went on what they thought were suicide missions, had a higher rate of survival than those who went along. Never forget that. And I think that's something that is important for us to remember, that the path of least resistance or the path of reform, it's long term, it's not going to be good for us. Long term, we're just going to continue to get even more police state. Long term, we're going to even continue to be poor. The capitalists are going to be more rich and the poor are going to be more poor. Long term, if you don't resist now, if you don't stand up now and you stop being passive, that's what it's going to be like. It's just going to, we're literally going to die in capitalism.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
Yeah, and not comparing our situation to the Holocaust, because obviously it is not even close to what those people went through. But it is a similar premise, and I'll just take from my perspective as a black person. That's usually what we get, and you can even see that like with instances of police brutality. People will say, well, if you just comply, you won't die, and we see that you will still die regardless. If a cop wants to kill you, he'll do it regardless. So there's things like that, and even you just think about the plight of black people in general. So we've done the game 90s and the aughts where there wasn't any humongous, well, 90s, yeah, but in the aughts there wasn't just huge civilian uprisings or nothing like that, and our quality of life actually got worse up under Obama, and we are where we are right now. So either way, we know now. We know if we would have last year or the year before with those civilian uprisings, if for whatever reason that momentum would have stayed and the state was fearful of property being burnt up, of people not going to work, of a mass civilian unrest, you probably could have got some concessions done. At least a couple concessions done. You probably could have got some more stimulus checks. You probably could have got maybe an increase in minimum wage, something. But now we have nothing.
I don't know if we would though. I think like if it would have continued, we would have had to like gone past the point of like destroying capitalism. But I don't think that would have happened because they started integrating like all of these liberals into the movement.
No, but that's
really
what I'm
quickly.
saying. I'm saying if that would not have been allowed.
Oh, okay.
Because you notice, here's the thing: what happens whenever there's riots, whenever there's quote unquote violence or rioting. That's when you get the liberals coming over there and being like, well, you know, that's not all of Black Lives Matter. And there were some other people that were coming in to infiltrate Antifa. That's not really what we represent. So you had people trying to take over the narrative and saying, this is not what we want. You had the liberals coming over and telling people, this is not really what we want. This is what the other people want. But if we were actually to say, actually, this is what we want, because it's the only way you listen, and we're going to keep doing it until certain demands are met. Obviously, you need to have an organized group of people to do that, but you would actually have more leverage, because the only thing these people care about is the capital. They care about their land, they care about their profits, they care about this real estate, they care about the stocks and bonds. That is it. They don't care nothing about you going outside and walking with a sign. Nothing at all. That's why they'll join you. That's why they'll join you. That's why they'll sponsor it. They'll encourage it. That's why they'll give you money to help to hold a panel on it. which
By the
brings
way.
us to this conversation on the doggone Masterclass. And it was actually kind of coincidental because I literally the day before was just talking to KT about Cornel West and how like I'm starting to get real confused about my brother. Because he seemed to, go on platforms and speak with people that are just questionable and outright unethical and outright racist, in my opinion. And I understand, you want to go to different platforms and spread a specific message. But then I had to be like, okay, what message are we spreading right now? Okay, you've been on Jimmy Dore, Forced to Vote. Okay, that was cool. You was over there with the People's Party. You was over there on Joe Rogan. You was over there with Tim Black. You was over there with Fred Hampton Lefties. You over here with all these people talking. What are you pushing? Like, we know you're about radical love and radical this, and you're against anti-imperialism and all that stuff. But are you doing the work to fight that besides just talking about it? We have collectively a couple $100 maybe that I could take from some savings or something and give to a couple people, and that will last like a month. You get millions of dollars from each speech, millions of dollars from book deals, millions of dollars from tenures at universities and other news channel stations. And you over here just still talking about Obama and imperialism and this stuff. What are you doing, sir? What are you doing? Are you helping us, that are people that are on the ground, people that are trying to educate, people that are trying to help? Are you giving the money to us so that we can do it? Because you ain't finna do it. And so we were talking about that. And then the next day, that Masterclass came out.
Yep.
And I was shocked. So it's Angela Davis on it, it's Cornel West on it, it's Kimberly Crenshaw on it. It's that girl from the 1619 Project that was she had that thing that was sponsored by Wells Fargo or whoever. And I was like, okay, what is this? I saw the first quote and I said, oh hell no. Oh, hell no. Hold on. It said, black love is the force that makes you believe in American democracy, even when American democracy hasn't believed in us.
What does that mean?
So,
What does that mean?
black love. Okay, now that's become a capitalist term. What the hell? So, me being in love with a black person, what does that have to do with America? Like, I'm confused. What does it have to do with this murderous, racist ass state that is continuing to murder me being in love and having sex with a black person? Somebody bring it home. And then even then, I'm like, okay, Masterclass, what are y'all teaching about? Okay, cool. Teaching about black history, great, love it. You're connecting slavery to where we are today. You're connecting Jim Crow and stuff to where we are today and the inequalities. Cool, bet. After that, what's going on? Are we connecting it to capitalism? Are we saying that, capitalism is the rooting little machine behind all this? Are we trying to figure out how we're going to destroy it? Hell no. What is this? When you get down to the nitty gritty, you pay $180 a month to get an anti-racism class that's just saying that black folks have been through some shit and they still going through some shit, but the thing that's gonna save them and the thing that's gonna help them is black people loving each other and white people not being racist to them, and we can solve all the problems in the world.
Again, passivism, though. You
Passivism, exactly.
It brings it right back to that, because that's really what it's about. It's really about, okay, well, let's just hold hands and teach white people X, Y, and Z, and then they're not going to be racist pieces of shit. And that's just not fucking true. It's just not true.
We know that. And that segue, that reminds me of, me and KT are reading Women, Race, and Class by Angela Davis, and she was talking about that the abolitionist movement, which was led by a lot of white women, and how, they were against slavery or whatever the hell, but they were still racist as fuck. And they didn't want black women to be in their schools and shit like that. They didn't want Sojourner Truth to talk at the stuff. And they knew slavery was bad. They knew the conditions of slavery. They knew the way black people were being treated. They had the knowledge. They even, quote unquote, were fighting for the black people. But when it came down to the nitty gritty, were they really ready to make that radical structural change to get black people to where they needed to be? And I don't think so. And that's where we are right now. People think they can read an anti-racism book. People think that they can go to a couple workshops and then racism is going to be eradicated through education. That's the thing. See, they're not teaching. When you don't have an economic thing up under there, when you don't connect it to capitalism and white supremacy and shit like that, when it's just like, well, the country was racist at one point and the country still is kind of racist because of some stuff in the past, it makes people think literally, like some people do now, that if you just put the right people up in there, then everything will be good. And that's not true. And so what hurt my heart was seeing Angela Davis on there and Cornel West. These people supposed to be leftists, supposed to be socialists and stuff like that. And y'all are not putting the call to action in there to say that none of this shit will change ever. If capitalism is still here and if the structure of white supremacy is still here and all that shit, this is just a glorified little, I don't know. And it hurt my heart.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's sick. Like, sick in the way, like, you're literally, I talked about this on Twitter earlier this week, but you're literally taking suffering of your own fucking people and using it, commodifying it, making it something commercial so it can be exchanged on the market, right? Like, this is something that black people have experienced forever. We know that. This is something that's literally been happening for decades, and you're taking what has been happening instead of providing it free to people and say, hey, let's rise up and make this difference. Or, hey, let's rise up and let's end what's currently happening to us. And you're making it inaccessible via funds for people.
Yeah, and that's really
elitism. That's what that elitism academic type.
Yeah, and that's what I want to get into. That's neoliberalism, and that's how That's how capitalism has evolved. I was looking at something from the AAPR, African People's Revolution. Yeah, and so they were talking about the commodification now of everything.
Yes,
literally everything is commodified. Every part of yourself you could possibly think about. Your race, your gender, your shoe size, your body type. Everything is commodified now. Everything is sold and packaged to you in some way. And this is the way that it goes. Talking about taking the trauma of people, mainly poor working class people, and repackaging it up and selling it so that you can get rich off of it and educate some rich white people so that they can feel better about themselves. You're providing a service to them, but how is this helping the poor working class people that this is about? It's not. How many people are finna be changed in the black community from this masterclass being produced?
So somebody on Twitter said that a lot of these liberals or neoliberals, their politics is more or less like a aha gotcha to conservatives. And I feel like this is kind of what it is. It's kind of like a reaction to the conservatives saying, hey, we don't need CRT or we don't need this. This is just a way for them to repackage it and market it back to people. Poor people who have no money to begin with.
Well, it's not marketing to poor people.
Well,
at all.
I mean, but that's who's going to be looking at it.
No, it's not. No, because who knew about the Masterclass? Who finna pay $200 for that bullshit?
Yeah,
nobody. And here's the thing too about the liberals and them being so reactionary. Here's the thing: conservatives are just so bottom of the barrel. They literally, it's not even making sense to themselves no more. So for you to be in opposition to them does not mean that you're in the right. It don't even mean that you are right. Y'all can both be wrong. So making that your whole personality trait, making that your whole brand, shitting on the conservatives or shitting on the libs,
Shitting on the shit libs.
that don't mean that you actually about nothing, no way.
Literally.
And yeah, it's really really gross. And even think about this, like we're going on a tangent, but I'm just thinking about this whole thing of black trauma and black protest music and all this other shit. These corporations, $1 billion corporations, literally have artists that quote unquote make conscious music, quote unquote, make movies about black suffering and black death, and they profit from it. These corporations are literally funding our oppression and our suffering and pain. And at the end of the day, they end up making money off of it regardless. They end up making money off it 2 times, 3 times. These cable network places perpetuate these images and these racist ass stereotypes,
Yep.
and perpetuate inequality all the time. And then when you get shot and killed by a police officer, they're gonna make even more money by showing it on TV 5 billion times and having a debate on it and doing a documentary on it. Capitalism has literally got to the point where you can't trust nobody really that's in no type of public sphere and that's making money off of this, because everybody is making money off of the suffering. Everybody's making money off the grift. Everybody's making money off of anti-capitalism. Everybody's making money off of seeming like they won't change. And
it's just weird. Like it's definitely like, I don't know if you remember back in the day on Tumblr, they would have those blogs that are like late stage capitalism is weird and had like some really weird photographs and stuff. But like this is not. I mean, this is late stage capitalism in like that sense. Like this is just weird.
Yeah.
It's just odd. Like whenever you think about, even if we think about literally anything, like you were talking about earlier, anything a part of us, our shoe size, our hands, that can literally be put on the internet and be sold for something.
You know what that reminds me of? That Black Mirror episode. Remember that episode when they was in that alternate universe? They had to ride on the little bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
And they had them game shows.
Yeah.
And then that guy ended up coming over there and was like about the he was like fed up with the system, and he was like, these things need to change, yada yada yada. And then by the end of it, he became a part of that same system and was marketing himself as a revolutionary and somebody that was, down to burn the system, but he was getting paid. And he was living a level. That's literally where we are now. That is literally where we are now. And yeah, and on that anti-capitalist thing, because there's something else we wanted to talk about. Anti-capitalism in itself has become a brand, in that I literally see people say, yeah, capitalism is terrible, capitalism this, that, and the third, and then on the next one be like, I see I'm manifesting millions of dollars for my business. I see people that say, yeah, capitalism is bad, it's bad to work, yada, 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 and then they over here pushing and peddling these little get-rich-quick schemes and MLMs. So that's why now it's like, and then these people, they weasel into these leftist spaces because, they agree with some things, and then it's so much, guys. I don't even know at this point. I don't know.
I'm laughing because of pain, but really, we'll have to link her information in our description, but this person that we're mutuals with on Twitter basically said, y'all don't hate capitalism, y'all just hate being poor.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. 100%. I agree with that. And it's like, y'all hate being poor, and you hate not having any sense of power within the current system.
Yep.
If you, and I look at like white leftist men, leftist quote unquote, who are really just right populists. But I look at them and I'm like, yeah, had your material conditions been different in any way since at all, like as far as money goes, you would have been a Nazi. you would have been literally, not even a Nazi, but you literally just would have been right of right. You would have been just like these Joe Bidens up in the White House at this point. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's a wreck.
That's the thing, and I think that is the reason that the anti-capitalism thing has been commodified, because it's gotten to the point where you cannot be alive, living and breathing, and not think that something is going on that's wrong. And instead of people being directed to leftism and, you know, this communist, Marxist, Leninist theory, whatever type of theory over here on this side, they just kind of get co-opted up and taken to a sock them and taken to a progressive side, and they just kind of in that little world or whatever. So we got to figure out how to combat all of these, this whole thing now, this whole brand of anti-capitalism, this whole brand of liberal
activist, quote unquote,
liberal activism and all that stuff, because it's a monster, guys. It is a monster.
What do y'all think about it? In the go ahead and put it in the comments, please, and thank you. We would be so happy to hear your information. Most of the time, Gabby and I, we tell y'all this every single time, but we are always theorizing. We're always thinking about new ways to look at things. We're always burning down our theories and rebuilding them every single day, all the time. So if you have anything you want to add, you definitely can.
I always put, the only thing that we can really do is what we're doing right now. You got to go and you got to start talking to people and start educating them about, you know, capitalism will not save you. Ain't no type of tax break, ain't no type of increase in minimum wage that's going to get you to where you need to be. Capitalism is exploitative, and especially as black people, we will never be free up under this model. And so, yeah, we just got to be the loudest voice. We got to be the most consistent voice. We got to be the voice that backs up what we believe. We can't just talk about it. You see, there's people that's already talking. We got to be doing stuff materially that folks can see. And that's why that's why we push that mutual aid thing. That's why we push that community engagement thing. Because that's really our only hope, guys.
What I want to add is, don't let your ego get in the way either. We don't, poor people, black people, no, we don't need leaders, okay?
Yeah.
That's important. Do not call yourself an activist. Do not call yourself a leader of so-and-so and so. We don't need that. We need community work. We need communal living. We need communities coming together and helping each other, okay? So,
based off of principles. That's based off of some type of structure that's non-hierarchical, because we don't need that. But, yeah, definitely. All right, guys. So, yeah, that's pretty much been our episode. We really just wanted to talk about just the fuckery that's been going on, because it's been ridiculous this week. Again, if you have anything you'd like to add in the comments, hit us up in the comments. You can hit us up on our social media at buildingourpwr, KT up at KT_doesart. Hit me up at Gabby's Music. Also, if you would like to help contribute to what we're doing in the community with the community fridge, as well as the educating of the community, you can do that. Link is in the bio. All right, this has been Gabby
and KT,
and this is Building Our Power.